naturally better. But they try to imitate the male form, so they can't be equal to male because imitation is never as good as the original. So instead of using their better off qualities, they use the lower order quality of the male for leadership. Now the moment they come to know that your sense of empathy, your concern for others, ability to relate to people, you can create your own personal excellence. Group management. Then you go to instructional leadership. This is a very important point in educational leadership. There is a very beautiful study on the 100 top universities in the world. Any principal who teaches very well has won half the battle. One of the reasons, you'll be surprised, NIPA, how many, 50-year-old by now, 55 years or so. There's no union there, even now. There's no teachers union, there is no staff union. Why? Munish, when he taught better than us. Satyabhushan, very rugged communication compared to Munish, was very sophisticated, but fact is, you can't match him, Satyabhushan. Came Kuldeep Mathur, brilliant teacher of political science. Every one of us have taught and invariably got some of the best ratings from the participants. So first thing is, all the directors are respected because they are great teachers. That's the first recognition. Uske baad aata hai administration. Now the whole question is, do the principals know what is the new generation instructional styles? I'm in fact working, as I mentioned to you, my contemporary research is on thinking-based learning. Whenever I conduct the programs, I give one full day on the instructional leadership, so that they also know what is to be done. Then we call up strategic planning. For example, one of the major problems, I had a meeting here right in this hall which Mr. Kapil Sibal was taking. We have created RTE. I'm sure RTE has also created problem for many of you. You don't know how to handle it. It's not simple. It's very complicated. But we do not have anything called strategic planning. How do you move forward? I was talking to the minister. He was more concerned about admission in this city so that they don't discriminate. I said, sir, ये तो छोटी सी बात है. 6,500 schools है पूरे हिंदुस्तान में. They contribute to 8% children's education. 176,000. Now it is more, 185,000. Schools are in the rural areas. For example, in my village school, who is going to see whether the teacher is there for 45 hours or not? Now, we teach strategic planning. If you want to do something, for example, like Rasmiji was saying that if she wants to develop teacher training or principals training, what is a strategic plan? To cover 1,000, or I don't know what is the number now, how are you going to do it? And then the managerial excellence. We have offered this program to large number of Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan teacher principals. Last year, CBSE asked us to conduct, in fact, possibly the only situation where CBSE requested us to conduct a program. We did conduct with private schools as well as Kendriya Vidyalaya schools. There was nobody from the Delhi government. And normally we do a satisfaction rating. 93% was the satisfaction rating for the principals of both the groups. Now this program we do it on our own as well as also on the asking of the CBSE. If it is done by CBSE asking, then CBSE puts it on their website. Then people have to apply, जो भी procedure है. But if some states asked us to do, we do it. For example, Gujarat we are doing for 60 principals. They asked us to do, we said, okay, we'll come and do it. We did it for them for a 1 week program. But normally there I encourage people that don't either ask principals training or teachers training. Give me a school, give me the principal and give me 10 teachers. What happens if you train 2 teachers, when they go back, बाकी teacher कहते हैं छोड़, बड़े पंडित आ गए, professor बनना है तेरे को. But when there are 10 teachers, they become a force to reckon with. So this is what we talk about Carter-Levin's field force analysis. So normally somebody asked me, I said, give me a school. Take for example Delhi government. If any time I have to do, I'll say, give me 50 schools, which means 50 principals and maybe 5 or 10 teachers from the same school. And they should be near around each other so they can interact with each other. This program we have been conducting quite successfully, and as I mentioned, normally we do it not, when you call 1 or 2 experts, they don't make a Garland. Impact does not happen. So when we do the program, whether Uday, myself, Jaya or Satish, we all stay there for all 5 days. If I am conducting the session, then others are my supporters. When Uday Kapari conducts it, I am his assistant. So that everyone intervenes, not interferes, intervenes and substantiate with one another. The final point I am making is, delegation is the key to leadership success. That's the final point. Master in delegation is graduation in leadership. Most of the IIMs use this book as the book for the teacher, for their principal's training. Yeah. So in fact, I told Mr. Benit Joshi I said, if they are giving my book as the training material, then better I conduct it, because nobody can be better than me on my book. Somebody can be better than me on TQM, but not on my book. Here are the different layers of leadership. Lowest is administration, management, which I have talked already. Transactional leadership is when the leader transacts with his or her people to enrich them. The best example that I have seen during my own career, when I was doing my PhD in MS University of Baroda, my teacher, very well-known educationist, Professor M.B. Butch, he will call in the evening and he will collect all the journals from the library and he will tick mark. He will say, Marmar, these are the articles good for you, you may like to read. Similarly, he will mark it to others. 3-4 days down the lane, he will call me, have you read? Of course we have read. Acha batao usme kya hai? So we will discuss. So he will also do it with the other 3 or 4 of his PhD scholars. Now who is richer, me or he himself? He has talked to all 5 scholars. Each one of us has read 5 articles. He has by that process learned 25 articles. Now that's transactional. He is enriching us. And then you say, you might like to talk to Prashant because he has read some 3 articles very good. So we talk to each other. Thereby he is transacting, enriching us to be strong. Next level is transformational. That is the point I talked about the mother. When the mother slowly transforms the small daughter into a full-grown human being of responsibility. This also happened in organizations. When the Center of Advanced Study was being evaluated, a team came there. So somebody headed each area, and my teacher asked me to take charge of one area where he is actually supposed to be the guide. So I asked her, sir, what do I do? He said, don't worry, you will do well. So we are 4 or 5 young researchers. We defended and got the feedback, they are the brightest. What was he doing? He was transforming us to leadership. He said, you should be able to take charge. Now that's transformation. He was taking risk, because if we did not perform, somebody will get a bad comment and my Center of Advanced Study will be de-recognized. But he took that chance. Next is primal leadership. The point I was talking about, the women leadership. This primal leadership is largely a contribution of emotional intelligence, where you synchronize and vibrate with each other. It's a kind of symphony that creates. Next is inspirational level, where your job is to inspire. If you are inspired, this is a beautiful contribution by Lance Secretan. His contention is, if you can make people see the God within themselves, you don't need to guide them. You don't guide a God. That capability, that final level is called elusive. This is largely contribution of Jim Collins, the famous book called Good to Great, where you don't know who is the leader of this organization, who is running. If you look at this growth, the first level is guided by cognitive intelligence, which normally you know as intelligence. That is administration, management, and up to transaction. Next level is the leadership guided by emotional intelligence. Third level is guided by spiritual intelligence. Now, when you look at that, the problem of our delegation is we don't prepare. The point I was making, that Dr. Butch put us through managerial skills, transactional skills, transformation skills, and then he started treating us as if we are his equals. You particularly notice at the lower the level, the difference between the leader and the follower is like this. Leader is taller, follower is smaller. At the transaction, transformation, primal leadership, both are equal. Because in terms of physics, if you remember the tuning fork and that experiment, when they vibrate together, when do you vibrate together? When you are equal. Now in primal leadership, leader and the follower comes to equal level. And when you go up the leader comes down, follower goes up. So people see more the followers and less the leaders. Now that ego withdrawal is a very, very serious problem with majority of the people occupying senior positions. When you talk about the delegation, a delegation means making yourself steadily irrelevant. How many of us are prepared to do that? The most significant example that I find is the grandmother smiling on the day of the marriage of the granddaughter. Everybody comes to her. She pleasantly sees how the family has grown, where she has no role to play except bless the family and smile at every important occasion. Now, our fundamental issue is that delegation, which is very much there in our social situation, we don't do it. And my entire research here, which I did a series of case studies on how people who build institutions, that is, who are actual leaders, without exception, all of them had the trick of delegation. Out of hundreds of principles, only those, this is a case studies of schools, colleges, national institutions, university and all that. Indian ethics shows very clearly, Indian style shows that wherever the head of the institution is able to prepare people and then delegate and make himself or herself irrelevant to the situation, it succeeds. Why irrelevant? Because that she can think. As one sitting in the DAV Advisory Committee for Principals, all that I'm talking about, DAV principals are very hardworking, they work from morning till evening. So after about half an hour or so quietly listening, I said, when do they think? He said, what? I said, आप जिसकी बात कर रहे हैं, ये तो हमारे माली भी यही करता है, 7 बजे से आता है, बेचारा सारा दिन फावड़ा लेके काम करता रहता है. तो प्रिंसिपल का तनख्वाह हम क्यों दे जो अब वो माली का काम करेगा? What do you mean? And the best example was कुलदीप माथुर. उसकी सारे पढ़ाई हमारे डायरेक्टर थे, सारे पढ़ाई ऑफिस में होता था. And he is the award winner political scientist of the country. Question is, if he is able to delegate to people, he is there to help. Now that's exactly what Lance Secretan talks about. He says the day you are able to ask a question, can I help you? You have become the leader.
This was a very, very enlightening talk which Professor Mukhopadhyaya gave us. And जो सवाल मैंने इससे पहले उठाए थे कि शिक्षा का उद्देश्य क्या है, क्या हमें चाहिए वो लोग जो सिर्फ जी हाँ भरते रहें, या हमें चाहिए वो लोग जो सारे आवे को उलट पलट करके रख दें, या कहीं बीच वाले लोग चाहिए जो रिफॉर्म भी लाए, नया भी सोच सके. Some of those questions have been answered. Of course, the answers can never be absolute and all pervading, all comprehending. So there have been lots of things he's told us about leadership, and it is a matter of satisfaction that I've got all my 9 leaders here, I hope, who will transform this into actual leadership styles on the ground. Hopefully, if our 9 diets and the SCRT can go ahead faster, then I don't know where we'll be though. Okay. Thank you, Professor.